I get an email and it says the old world from GW. I have to turn the camera on and start reading because okay, I skimmed it, but now I am actually going to read it with you guys. So, Warhammer the Old World. They start with, "You'll never believe what we're working on. The studio had to tell us twice." Yeah, for really reals. In the deepest dungeons of the Warhammer studio, the Council of the Wise have convened, ancient forges have been relit, and work has already begun. So far, we've made the logo. Next up, everything else. You get the idea. This is a long way off, years. More than 2, likely 3 or more, definitely not soon. Obviously, this is really exciting news for all of us, and just like with Sisters of Battle, we'll keep you updated with more news as the project unfolds. This link just wants you to sign up to their newsletter. There you go. I already tried. For those of you who don't know, in 2015, Warhammer Together, that's 4 years ago. Almost 5. Warhammer, the game of fantasy battles, changed forever insofar as Archaon destroyed the world. Classic Archaon. Everything we knew of the old world collapsed into a void of chaos and infinite possibility. From that tumultuous storm came the mortal realms, heralding a new dawn of unending war in the Age of Sigmar. Boom. That's the smallest picture. The picture is... Anyway. From the reforged primordial soup and etheric energies of the old world rose wonders we could never have imagined. Armies of ghosts, fleets of ether-powered aircraft, greenskin brutes the size of horses, and flying sharks. The heroes, villains, warriors, and monsters of Warhammer Age of Sigmar represent the best range of fantasy miniatures in the world. Fair? Beloved of a passionate global gaming community, and over the past 4 years, Warhammer Age of Sigmar has become by far the most successful fantasy game ever. And yet, the old world whispers from ages past with its siren song. We grow misty-eyed at the memory of long-lost heroes and glorious kingdoms laid to ruin, and of mighty champions whose sagas are sung no more. And of course, much of the lore of the mortal realms has its roots in the world that was, with some of its most venerable denizens being the very same that fought across those war-torn kingdoms along with a small selection of choice magical artifacts. I actually don't know what this link is. Oh, okay. Alright. The old world is to Warhammer Age of Sigmar as the Horus Heresy is to Warhammer 40,000, the bedrock of lore from which mortals rose to godhood and legends were forged. And like the Horus Heresy, seeing those mythic heroes in action has an undeniable appeal, as does recreating the glorious armies of a previous epoch. Epoch. I don't know. An exciting proposition for hobbyists and gamers alike, and now we have a dedicated team in the Warhammer studio beginning the work of bringing all that awesome back to the tabletop. Exciting stuff. If you're itching to jump into the old world right now, you can. There is a fantastic selection of computer games, such as Vermintide and Total War Warhammer, offering a chance to engage in the enduring appeal of the setting. And what next, then, for Warhammer Age of Sigmar? There are some huge, some might say giant, plans for the mortal realms. More news soon. For now, we have to keep it hish. So I'm not going to talk about the Age of Sigmar side of that, because they're obviously giving some hints away there as to what's coming next for Age of Sigmar. Let's talk about the old world. Let's hypothesize why they may be doing this, and let's just, have a think. Okay, this is exciting. Now let's get negative. Why do we think they're doing this? So I had mentioned in a previous video that all of the good Warhammer games are from the old world. And it's now been long enough that if any of the game companies had wanted to take full advantage of the Age of Sigmar world, they could have. And there have been a few games based in Age of Sigmar, computer games. So, it's not like nobody has. But I had speculated then that perhaps, game developers were coming forward saying, okay, we want to take your IP because obviously that gives us an inbuilt fan base so that when we do eventually release, we know from your data that we can get roughly X number of sales without any advertising on top. And then presumably they look at the IP they can work with and they say, oh, well, you know what? Age of Sigmar looks crap. I'm going to go with the stuff that people already know because that tests better. Something like that. Pure speculation, obviously. And now they're saying they're bringing it back. Very interesting. Is it because the Age of Sigmar IP has genuinely failed outside of GW? I actually don't think so. It's an interesting idea to speculate on. But I don't think that alone would stop Games Workshop from pushing Age of Sigmar. Also, let's be very clear, they're not going to stop pushing Age of Sigmar. What I suspect this is they are going to take their current range for Age of Sigmar, which of course used to be for fantasy battles, right? It's not like they're stretching themselves here. And they're just going to release, I think, is it 9th Age? So basically, when Age of Sigmar, when the old world, when Warhammer Fantasy Battles was scrapped, I believe they were in their 9th edition, but it might have been their 8th edition. At which point, Age of Sigmar came along, and we got Age of Sigmar. Now we have Age of Sigmar 2.0 in the Mortal Realms and all that crap. However, some people still play rank and file Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Is it possible that Games Workshop is going to re-release rank and file? Just using the old rules. No, sorry, new rules, but the old models. That would be really interesting, and actually, I'd really like it if they did. But will they? Let's think. Some of the large companies have recently released their own rank and file games. One was Fantasy Flight Games released Rune Wars, which was then discontinued. First, they pulled off prize support, which for Fantasy Flight Games is huge. And now it is officially discontinued. You cannot buy it anymore. And it's actually a real big shame because I personally really liked Rune Wars. I liked how it worked. I liked the mechanics. I liked the hidden dials. I liked the templates. It was really good. One or two minor issues with the competitive format of it, but in general, really enjoyed it. Obviously, the hobby community is still doing their own version of Warhammer Fantasy, so let's ignore that. But then there's also recently been a release of, I want to say it's called Conquest. Rank and File Conquest? So many things are called Conquest these days. Yeah. No, it is. It's by Parabellum. Conquest. That was an interesting game. The rules seemed fair enough. How can I very quickly describe Parabellum's Conquest? Imagine any other rank and file game, but you start in turn 2. There you go. Almost like, so everything starts practically in the middle of the board, and you have this weird reserve rules where like your vanguard, like your scouts start first, and then turn 2 the rest of your stuff comes on, and it's all, yeah. Very interestingly, it was done in 32mm scale. Now don't get confused with Warhammer, where the base size is 32mm for Marines and stuff, but it is still technically 28mm scale, or 28mm heroic. 32mm scale was very interesting, because they were deliberately setting themselves apart from GW games. The miniatures were just too big to use in Games Workshop. Very bold move. I don't think it's worked well for them, but very bold. So, has Games Workshop seen that and said, hey, you know what? Our community has stuck around for the past 5 years, keeping Fantasy Battles alive. Our competitor, Fantasy Flight Games, has given up. This new game that's come out hasn't done particularly well, or hasn't just completely run away with it. Maybe GW is getting ahead of the game, and they're seeing that other companies are trying to fill the void that losing old Warhammer Fantasy Battles left, but they're failing. Maybe GW is actually, bizarrely, being a forerunner in this, and is going to say, you know what, we can do this. Be very interesting to see, that's all. I don't know. I mean, we don't know yet. We don't know. It's possible. The thing is, okay, the only strange thing is if they were going to do what I said, which again, I have no idea what they're going to do. If they were going to just take the miniatures they already have and put a rule set on it, it wouldn't take them 3 or more years. It would take them like a year tops, right? To really craft a good rule set. So there must be miniatures involved. I don't know. I can't imagine them not doing rank and file. Because to me, the old world was rank and file. That's why you played it. It's also why it didn't sell well, though. And why they deliberately changed to skirmish style units for Age of Sigmar. I don't know. Anyway, I have no answers. I'm genuinely curious, and I would love for a really good, well-supported, popular rank and file game to be put back into, you know, the spotlight. That'd be really cool. I think rank and file's cool. That's all I'm saying. If they can give us a whole new, like, fixed rule set with maybe new ways of doing things, that'd be awesome. Anyway, this has just been Glass Half Dead, excited about some rank and file. Hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Check out my Discord and my Patreon. Goodbye.